everyone. Welcome to At Home with Sally. I'm Sally Clarkson, and I have the biggest privilege in the world to be with so many friends from all over the world who join me every week to listen to my stories, inspiration, biblical encouragement, and I am just so glad that you're here today. Thanks so much for joining me. Hello, my friends. It's Sally Clarkson, and I am so happy to be with you again today. I have just been living in the most wonderful weather here in Colorado. Every afternoon, as many of you know, whoever is here, but Clay and I have been here lately, and Darcy Dog. And we have been sitting outside at 4 p.m. with our hot cups of tea and a warm oatmeal chocolate chip cookie. And I just wish you could be here. It is so delightful. It's like heaven. And the reason why we enjoy it so much is because we know that winter is coming. I am getting less and less fond of snow and driving in the snow and ice. And we've had lots of pileups of snow where we live. We're 7,200 feet high. So sometimes knowing what's coming makes you really grateful for what you have. And anyway, we're going to have lots of fun talking today. Oh my goodness, last week I had a Mom Heart meetup. As many of you know, I have a membership called Life with Sally, and it is so much fun. There are women from all over the world. Hello, hello, hello. If you are living outside of the country, I wish I could visit you too. But whenever I've been speaking in the last few years, I have said that whoever is in my Mom Heart meetup should come and meet me, and we'll just all get together and have fun and talk. And we had about 75 or 80 women from Colorado. One group from kind of the Loveland, Fort Collins area even brought a whole van full of women. And I am an introvert, so there are moments when I can be a little bit to myself, but it was so wonderful to have the women. I talked for a while. I showed them some of our books and talked about different ideas, had a few of my seasoned friends share some thoughts, and then all of the women had brought different snacks to share, and we had a few discussion leaders at the tables that we had so that every person there could meet a friend or two before they left. And I think the best part of the whole time that we had was that women got to talk with one another and share with one another, and I got to meet them face to face. So it was lots of fun, and I'll try to put some pictures up sometime. But just again, I was reminded, and I want to remind all of you, starting a group, getting together with friends, making friends by studying a book that puts you on the same page as each other. But that was really a wonderful thing. Normally they're very casual. I will hope to have one in Pennsylvania when I'm speaking there. And I will have one at Wild and Free that is being arranged right now. We might have a limited capacity there. So I hope that you will, if you're in my membership, that you'll go to the information and sign up soon so that I can be sure to see you there. And then I'm going to be in those three places that I was just here, Wild and Free, Pennsylvania. And then I'm going to be speaking at Hutchmoot in Nashville, Tennessee, the second week in October. And I'm so sorry, but I don't think I'm going to be able to have another Mom Heart meetup there because we will have already had one in Nashville, and I haven't been able to free up my schedule where I'm speaking and doing some other recording with some people. So be sure to try to get into the one in Nashville this week. Anyway, all that to say, I love meeting all of you all, those who are listening to me now in my podcast arena. It's just fun to put a face to you and to see you face to face. So here we go. I have a couple of fun things that I really enjoyed this week. I accidentally came upon a beautiful musical album, or maybe a playlist you'd call it, actually on YouTube. Oh, and I wanted to tell you, I do now have my podcasts are all going to YouTube at Sally Clarkson. You can listen to them there, but I haven't made the step of faith to videotape myself. That would be a little bit of a bridge too far at this point. But you can go to YouTube and listen to my podcast or tell other people about it. And YouTube is the search engine that is most used in the whole world. And so I thought, well, I should put my podcast up there in case other people are searching for encouragement for mothers. So be sure and go there. But when I was fiddling around with YouTube that day, I found this incredible, beautiful YouTube channel, or whatever you want to call it, title, that I think you would just love. It's called Irish Celtic, Celtic, Fiddle Music. And then it also has beautiful views of Ireland, Scotland, and Wales Spotify. And so you can get it on Spotify, but if you want the beautiful pictures, if you just want to kind of escape for a few minutes, you'll have to go to YouTube so you can see the beautiful views of Ireland, Scotland, and Wales. But otherwise, it's Irish Celtic Fiddle Music on Spotify. Anyway, I was listening to it, and I got so much pleasure out of it, I thought you might enjoy it too. Now, this weekend, we're having a friend of ours, Michael Ward, for those of you who know Michael Ward, Dr. Michael Ward. He's one of the foremost specialists on C.S. Lewis, and he is speaking at our church this weekend. We host him whenever we can. He lives in Oxford. And so as it ends up, for a group of people who are helping us host this, and the Anselm Society is one of the sponsoring group. And so we wanted to be able to have a little dinner for all of the helpers who are going to be ushers and greeters and all of that. And so I am going to be making a chicken enchilada casserole that I just love. It's a group thing I've made many years before, and I thought, have I ever told everyone about this chicken enchilada casserole? And I hate to tell you this because I'm natural and most of the time, but when you make this, you can get it from Whole Foods if you want to, or a health food store, or you can just get it at your normal grocery store. But some of the sauce you make with the cream of chicken soup. And I will probably use 2 or 3 cans of cream of chicken soup for this particular group because I need to make it for 19 or 20 people. And I will also make my own batch of refried beans, and I'll get some queso and chips and a big salad. And voila, there will be my dinner for Friday night for all the people coming. And he is speaking on Saturday night. I would tell you where to sign up for it, but I think it's already full. He will be speaking on some attribute or quality of the literature of C.S. Lewis, and it'll be a lot of fun. You will love hearing Michael Ward if you can ever be in a place where he's speaking. But anyway, I'm trying to go through my old favorite books that I think you might like. And again, it seems like Sarah and Joy and I keep telling about the same ones. But one of the things that I love is that when my children were little, children love music and song and poetry. They can memorize scripture like crazy. And so one of my favorite childhood books for my children is called The Golden Books Family. And the Golden Books Family Tree. And what it is it has the poetry. It has lots of children's poetry that I think you would absolutely love. And so I thought I would mention that book because you can just flip through and just pick a poem that would delight your children. Act it out. Say it over and over again at the breakfast table. But they will carry those poems with them forever. I just know they will because my kids do. And then another book that I like, many of you know that I like the author Philip Yancey. And I love his books because they come at life and at faith from kind of a different point of view. he always illuminates a new understanding of God's attributes, what it looks like to walk with God. And I think that you'll really like that. So it's the book that I'm recommending this week is called Reaching for the Invisible God. Another one of my favorite books of Philip Yancey is Where is God When It Hurts? It's a real comforting book for those of you who might be going through difficult times. Where is God when it hurts? But anyway, that is my recommendation to you for books this week, and for music, and for food. So anyway, I'm looking forward actually to telling you a little bit about what I've thought about this week and why I'm going to be speaking on this particular Bible topic. But I think that it's so important. One of the things that I wish I had known, and basically this is an article about if only I had known, or if only I knew, things that would have helped me to be able to be more faithful, more at peace, more at ease during this thing called life. I really have mentioned before that I didn't understand or realize what it meant to live in a fallen world. And so I will probably be inserting a little bit of this in some of my talks this year. But the thing that I look back on now and realize in my lifetime, especially because I was an idealist, I home educated my children, I had more than 2 children, had another child when I was in my 40s, and by God's grace, it's nothing noble that I accomplished. I just prayed about it and believed that maybe the Lord wanted to continue increasing our children. Had several miscarriages. But I think that when you decide to live by ideals of some sort or another, it's going to cost you more. Every ideal has a cost. And so I wanted to talk about that today, because I think that what I wish I had known, this is a perfect day to be talking about this, is that motherhood is a long game. In other words, it takes a lifetime. It takes at least 18 years or so, even more than that. And my children are just still maturing and growing as I am. But motherhood is a long game. You can't make it go faster. It will take a certain amount of years until your babies can take more independent care of themselves. It's going to take a certain amount of time before they're going to be able to sleep through the night, but you will live. It's going to take a long time to raise a child from a baby to a toddler to preschool to elementary school to the middle ages to high school to college to marriage to early marriage to having babies to getting jobs to going out into the world. And even today, this is why it's a perfect example today, I had this really long talk with my daughter Joy for about 45 minutes this morning, just before I was going to record a podcast about Well Lived with another person. And so I talked to her for about 45 minutes. And then Sarah surprised me and called me and talked to me for about 40 minutes in the middle of a lot of different things that were going on. And Nathan texted me 4 times and said, when can we talk? And then Joel has already texted me and said, I hope I can talk to you later. And I am privileged, of course, and it's not every day that they do it, but it's very often, because by God's grace and the relationship that we built, my children still trust us to talk to me, to call me, to say, can I get your advice, or let me tell you what's happening? What do you think about this? To share what they're reading, to share when they had their love life, to share their love life. Anyway, all that to say, sometimes I think that young moms and moms of little ones are so focused on result-oriented curriculum or lessons for their children, or a particular private school they're going to go to, or whatever, and they think, I've got to get them dance lessons or music lessons, or have them in all the right sports, or be sure that they're not upset, or, get them all the right toys, whatever it is. But what I want you to know is that two things about long game is that it's going to take a long time for your child to go from immaturity to maturity, for your child to be able to go from irresponsibility to learning little by little chores, responsibility, to perceive themselves as responsible people. It's going to take a long time for them to grow up. And hopefully you're going to be present for that. But there are so many things. I wish I had known how long it was going to be or what it was going to take for me, because then I think I would have been able to manage it in a wiser sort of way. So today I wanted to talk about committing to the long term, committing to the long marathon that God has designed for this to be. But on the other hand, I just can't tell you how much I was surprised by the fact that the longer I went, the more blessed I was. The longer I pursued my ideals, the longer I pursued being with my children, companioning them, directing them, trying to inspire them with a real and living faith, trying to really build their minds and shape their minds in such a way that they would love learning and know how to communicate and know how to access knowledge. And the more I did it, the more I saw what a great plan God had, because family can be, isn't always, can be a center of life-giving and love and purpose and delight. And yet it really helps if you would know ahead of time, if I had known ahead of time, how much work it would be, that my children would want to eat relatively every day, several times a day. And that would mean that somebody had to be responsible for shopping and cooking and for the dishes. And anyway, all that to say, I'm going to read to you some of my most deep thoughts about, I wish I had known this ahead of time. And I wanted to read to you a verse that I really love a lot. It's Luke 14, verse 28. It says, "For which of you, when he wants to build a tower, does not first sit down and calculate the cost to see if he has enough to complete it?" And in Scripture, it talks about completing and finishing your work and counting the cost ahead of time. I think that's so important. When you look at this next year coming up, what is the cost going to be to accomplish your goals, to accomplish your ideals? Because when I started all this, I didn't know what it meant to be a servant leader. I learned and I copied Christ because that's what he was. And I learned how to do it, and I realized over time that when I unconditionally loved, served my children, took the time it took to train them. No, this is what is true. This is what is acceptable. This is what is considered of other people. This is what it means to tell the truth. This is what it means to honor mama and daddy. To train all of these things called me to my best self because I had to learn it at the same time. But also, when I look back, yes, it required a lot from me, but it was ultimately the most fulfilling work that I've done. And because the reward comes with belonging to one another and with being able to have your closest friends in the world who also happen to share your favorite tea and your favorite books. Because you've grown up together, you've lived together, you have built this place of belonging and becoming. There's another verse that, if you will persevere with me for a minute, that I would like to read to you, and it's in Hebrews, and I think it applies to all that we are talking about today. Can you hear me while I'm typing on my computer? It's Hebrews 12, verses 1 through 3. And I think this is such an applicable verse for those of us who have committed to long-term commitments, who have long-term commitments, whether it be in ministry, whether it be to a friend, whether it be to a marriage, whether it be to your child. We need to seriously think about this. First of all, count the cost, as Jesus was saying. Don't just build something that you can't finish, because then you will be disappointed and you'll feel bad. Count the cost ahead of time. And I will say that the ideals that I have chosen and that most of you have chosen require a big cost, a lot, for a long time. So don't be surprised at exhaustion. Don't be surprised at the mysterious times. Don't be surprised at the chaos, because this is a fallen world. But have a long game view. If I stay with this, if I persist, if I pursue, I will see in the end results. I'm amazed now at the spiritual depth that my children have, because they have practiced walking with God, applying wisdom, listening to Proverbs, humbling themselves, and now their lives are solid. Long game, what does that mean? My children idealized, some of them idealized, for instance, Nathan idealized doing his movies, but he had to learn about acting, and then he had to see how hard it was to develop a film career. And then he realized that he needed to write, to get the actors, to get the places, to provide the food for. If he was going to be able to afford any movie at all, he was going to have to do it himself, and it was going to take a whole lot of work for years before he would even start putting some movies out there in the real world. For instance, Sarah and Joy and Joel, a couple of them got their PhDs. One of them got their Masters of Theology, but it wasn't easy. First, they had to study. They had to improve in areas that they weren't good enough for being able to pass the tests and the interviews. Then they had to go to class. They had to figure out how to pay for a lot of their schooling by getting a job. They had to figure out how to do the classwork. They had to do the classwork, and it took them years to graduate. That it was a long game commitment for them to get these graduate degrees, and then to go into applying for 40, 50, 60 jobs in academia before they could find a job at all. So your ideals have a cost to them. If you can't accept that, you won't be able to see the fruit of your ideals. So anyway, this is the verse in Hebrews chapter 12, verses 1 through 3. It's pretty much a paradigm of the whole Christian life if you want to be faithful and see a fruitful life. Actually, this really goes well with Well Lived right now, because my book, Well Lived, is all about enduring with grace, persevering, overcoming, learning how to make wise decisions. I think that I've been so encouraged by the people who have read Well Lived so far, because it's so important to gain a holistic, long game vision of life so that you can finish the race. So this is what it's about. Therefore, it says in Hebrews 12, 1 through 3, since we are surrounded by such a great cloud of witnesses, the witnesses were Abraham and Sarah and Moses and Gideon and anyway, all of the people who had lived faithful lives and that are looking on to see, will other people live faithful lives in God's mega story? Therefore, since we are surrounded by such a great cloud of witnesses, those who had been faithful, let us throw off everything that hinders and sin that entangles us. Let us throw off what is hindering you, what attitude, what person, what influence, what lack of discipline is hindering you from living as fully into your life as you should for this long-term, long-game marathon. It says, let us throw off everything. And the picture here, did you see in the Olympics, I'm sure you've seen it before, the runners throw off every bit of clothing. What they wear is so little, it's so light. because even a bit of clothing or a hat or anything else can slow them down, not allowing them to run the race as fast as they normally could. It says, let us throw off everything that hinders and sin that so easily entangles. What are you nurturing? Are you nursing a pet sin? Is there a habit in your life? Is it perhaps an anger or a critical attitude? Is it the lack of work ethic? I grew in my work ethic. I had never been taught to work hard. I had to learn it little by little as an adult. Is there some place in your life that you know that you are not doing what is wise, not seeking to obey God in that issue? And Scripture tells us here, let us throw off everything that hinders your walk with God, and the sin that so easily entangles. Don't get your feet entangled in sin, but let us run with endurance the race that is set before us, fixing our eyes on Jesus, the pioneer and perfecter of faith, who, for the joy set before him, endured the cross, scorning the shame, and sat down at the right hand of God. I want you to see this here. We fix our eyes on Jesus. First, we put aside everything so we can run the race with perseverance. That means keep going, keep going, keep going, even when you're tempted to give up. Run the race with endurance, fixing our eyes on Jesus, the author and perfecter of our faith, who, for the joy set before him, because he knew where he was going, it tells us in John. He knew that he was going to give his life. He knew that he was going to conquer the evil one in this world. It says, for the joy set before him, he endured the cross. My friends, that's like you. For the joy set before you, for the joy of knowing that you were able to shape and to love and encourage and inspire real life human beings who are going to have an impact on eternity forever. That's the joy that is set before you, to believe that it matters, to believe that God has given you a purpose by his design to be able to transform through his Holy Spirit the characters, the minds, the hearts of those he has entrusted into your hands. Fixing our eyes on Jesus, pioneer and perfecter of faith. He's the one who is perfecting faith. And endure your cross. It says that Jesus scorned its shame. For the joy set before him, he endured the cross. We each need to endure. He scorned the shame. He did not enjoy the difficult times, the times he was put to shame, the times he was crucified. He did not enjoy that. He scorned it. But for the joy set before him, he endured the cross. And now he has sat down at the right hand of the throne of God. Consider him who endured such opposition from sinners, so that you will not grow weary and lose heart. So what does it say for us to do here? It says for us to consider, to think about Jesus who endured such opposition. Think about that. Ponder what he had to go through to endure such spiritual warfare, so that you may not grow weary and lose heart in your race. And so, my friends, I hope that makes sense to you, because I've realized that people can talk you into commitments or out of commitments. People can say, oh, you deserve a break. You don't have to do the hard thing. Or why don't you make your life as easy for you as possible? No, life in this world. That's why Jesus told the tower story. He said, count the cost. And that's why this verse in Hebrews is so important. Therefore, since we are surrounded by a great cloud of witnesses, let us throw off everything that hinders and the sin that entangles us. Let us run with perseverance. Keep going, keep going, keep going, keep going. The race that is marked out for us, fixing our eyes on Jesus, the pioneer and perfecter of faith, For the joy set before him, he endured perseverance and endurance. He endured the cross, scorning its shame, despising its shame, it says in my Bible, and sat down at the right hand of the throne of God. Consider him who endured such opposition from sinners, so that you may not grow weary and lose heart. So I wanted to read to you today just some of the notes that I had written in my journal so long ago that I'm hoping will be something that maybe will help you right now, wherever you are, whatever you are going through. Let me get to the right page. Okay. No amount of, I want to read you this verse too. In this world you have tribulation, but take courage, endure, persevere. I have overcome the world. Let my life encourage you, is what Jesus is saying. And this is what I wrote in my journal. No amount of ranting or complaining can change the fact that we live in a fallen world. We live in a world that is a battleground for souls, for faith. Is your child pushing against you? It's as children have pushed against their parents for many years. This is a battleground. This life that we live is a battleground to win the precious souls of our children. I wish I had known sooner, or better understood, or earlier admitted that I needed to accept this reality, that this place where I'm living is a battleground for faith, and it still is, my friends. I wish I had known it so that I could determine to grow up. I could determine to build up my strength little by little. I wish I had known what it was going to cost me to live this life. I wish I had known because it would have saved me emotional havoc, so much emotional havoc in the long run. Had I known and accepted it, I wouldn't have been surprised by difficulties. I wouldn't have questioned that there are irrational, immature people, or that I would be the irrational or immature person. If only I had understood that this battle for allegiance to the one who is true, Christ, and not an issue, that my life isn't an issue of choosing the right activities or the best curriculum or the most promising school choice. If only I had known that the sacrificing of my life to God's design would be the making of my character, that at the end of giving my life for His design, I would have grown more to be like Christ and have grown in wisdom. If only I had understood that the longer I loved and served and gave myself fully to the training of my children, the more I would understand His sacrificial fatherhood to me and love Him more. I would understand the complete sacrifice He was willing to make for me, His own unaware and short-sighted toddler child who whined a little bit too much. If only I had known that I was often blind to the working of His ways and the wisdom of His voice, even as my children are often blind to my wisdom given for their sakes. It is a long-term learning to understand the ways of God little by little, point by point, principle by principle. Don't be discouraged. Don't be unhappy and upset and be angry at your children. They are growing little by little as you need to continue to grow in your own faith and understanding of your walk with God. I should have known this too, as I look back on this. If only I had known that the miracle of my children's long-term faith and love for Christ was not an issue of me being righteously mature and perfect in performance, but it was more an issue of my dependence for Him working according to His power and mercy, that He was the one who made my paltry little sacrifices of my own fish and loaves to Him. He was the one that would make them enough to reach the hearts of my children. If only I had known that He cared for them and He cared for me more than I did. And He cared about loving and redeeming my children out of darkness into His light, because He is a God whose love never changes. If only I had known that He wanted from me just to give my heart to Him, to live by faith, to enjoy the gift He had given into my hands, the gift of mothering these precious children, of living this story, of seeing His miracles right before my eyes, of expecting my Father to work even as my children expected me to work. If only I had known that what He wanted from me was to commit my way unto the Lord, to commit my way to Him, to trust in Him, and to rest and understand that He will do it. If only I had known that He wanted me to plant the seeds of faith that would cultivate the peace of heart that He longed to give me. If only I had known all of these things, it would have saved me so much emotional havoc, worry, impatience, and stress. I would have lived to learn, to rest, to breathe in, to enjoy the peace that passes all understanding. I would have enjoyed my days more. I wouldn't have felt as pressured. I wouldn't have condemned myself when I didn't act perfectly. I would have been thankful for His saving love, letting Him take the own weight of my worry and fretting. Today, my friends, I hope that this makes sense to you, but wherever you are, it is a long-term game. It is a marathon, but it is so worthwhile. Your life matters so much. You are transforming the future, the ways, the faith of real human beings whose lives are going to take light and beauty and goodness into the next generation. Be at peace. The Lord is near. Don't self-condemn. Move to His forgiveness and His grace and His strength, and apply His wisdom in your days, and take it one day at a time. Be patient. The Lord is near. The Lord will accomplish what concerns you. Dear Heavenly Father, I just thank You so much for the privilege of being able to study these words of Yours, and being able to look back that my life in Your hands became well lived because You were there with me. You were the one teaching. You were the one who cared more than I did. You gave Your life in a very violent way that You could settle for all times my forgiveness for anything I would do, past, present, and future, and for the sins that my friends have committed, the difficulties they've had, the ways they've fallen. You paid for it all because You cared to love us as a servant leader, as a loving Father. Give us the courage, the strength, the mercy, the rest that we need to run our races with endurance, for the joy set before us of pleasing You, Lord, in our lives, in our hearts, and throughout eternity. I just pray Your blessing on these precious ones. In Jesus' name, amen. Well, my friends, I hope that makes so much sense. I just want to also thank so many of you. As you know, my children laugh at me. I am just the most anguished introvert when it comes to launching, and yet so many of you have come around me, and shared my book. I had several people this weekend said, I ordered a book for me and for 2 friends. The thing is, maybe I won't even write any more books again. I don't know if I will or not, but I am so grateful to have the opportunity. My publishers put faith in me that I would work hard to spread the news, to spread the books and the truth of the books into the world. And So what do? I have the best people around me, you all. I just can't believe how many people are kind enough. And not everybody has the opportunity to, I know that. But thank you for those of you who have shared about my book, Well Lived. I have been deeply encouraged and deeply heartened to maybe even think about another book. Oh no, I do have some messages I've never written about that I wish I could write about, but I may not. I may be at my end. Who knows? This may be my last big book. I do have another encouraging book coming out with Nathan, but this is it. I've written. I have put my heart into it, but it means a lot to me that you are my friends and that you are really helping me get the book out. And the other thing I would say is people have been asking me about my membership. Just go on to Life with Sally, and you can read all about it. We just have so much fun, and you can find out all about it just by going to lifewithsally.com. All right, friends, I pray and hope that this has been encouraging and helpful to you today. I hope that you will be able to enjoy your lives and live in the grace and peace of God. Take a day off. It will not hurt anyone, you or your children. It didn't hurt my children in any way. When we needed rest, we rested, we played, we did some things, because sometimes life can be so demanding. Well, I love all of you all with the love of the Lord. I just have you in my heart, and I thank you for being with me today. I will be here hopefully again next week. Bye-bye. I hope you've enjoyed our time together today and that you'll join me next week. Be sure to look for more inspiration on my blog at sallyclarkson.com. Thanks for joining me. Bye-bye.